Welcome to part number 2 of the PHILCO 3812 radio. Well, it came out pretty good. It was a dark paint. I can do that. I can paint that, I guess, with black. I guess that's what it is. Not a big deal. I can paint that so it would look pretty good. The cabinet came out really good in this. I think that's glass. It's perfectly flat. I'm really surprised because this has been kicking around now for a while at the Jewett City Flea Market. I would say for maybe a month or more, but that vendor's not always there every week, so it makes its rounds to other flea markets. Really came out nice. I'll probably glue this little, I got some Duco cement or even Elmer's glue or even Carpenter's wood glue. I could just glue that down just to keep it all original here. So it's good and solid now. So let's go in the shop. There's the tube location chart over there. Let's go in the shop and show you what I've done off camera. Yesterday, after the Jewett City Flea Market, I made part 1, of course. And I recapped it as I put in the notations on that video. I don't think I have anything near a 12 microfarad filter cap, and I know I don't have a 4 microfarad. The smaller diameter wet electrolytic on that chassis is a 4 microfarad at 450 volts. So I may have to replace that with a 10, I don't know, because I just don't have it. But I really got to look through my stash, but I'm pretty sure I don't have anything that low in capacity, at least on the 450 volt ones. Okay, welcome to part 2 of the PHILCO 3812. These are the capacitors. For some reason I can't find the 6th wax cap. No big deal, but I just can't find it. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, no wonder I only replaced 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I looked at it quick, and I was counting this, and this is the resistor. Okay, so that's why I couldn't find the 6th one. There isn't any. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wax jobs and 2.01 depth caps, which were replaced by these. And you can see how short the leads are on them. And these I got from Sal's Capacitor Corner a while back. 01s, 250 volt Y2. Okay, because they go, I got the schematic right here. I downloaded it, and they go from each side of the line to the chassis. Of course, you're not going to be able to see it in focus with the ZE1. We're not using the big Sony. I don't feel like spending all day rendering the video in the program, and it's not necessary because we're not really doing close-ups on this. And as I said, I did all this off camera yesterday. I did not check the resistors. Now these type of resistors, I'm a little bit weak on how to read them. Here appears to be a yellow resistor with a green band. So we're going to rely on the schematic. We're not even going to try to read these codes. Usually the body end dot. But on these type, like down there's a purple one. Well, leastwise one of the, looks like a purple body, but it's very hard for me to see because I'm only using my reading glasses. I don't have the, I can't hold that and hold the camera too. I could put this on a tripod, but I'm just doing a show and tell on this. Let's see, it's the rectifier tube. The two yellow wires right here, are the high voltage. That checks out good. The resistance, I read the DC resistance from one leg to the other. I haven't found the center tap, but I can. I just haven't taken the time to go through the chassis. So I can measure the DC resistance from the center tap to each leg to make sure that the secondary is good. But I'm almost sure it is. I got these capacitors in. This is 047. Everything else in this radio is pretty much 0.01s. Including the safety caps, which I installed here. The next step here is to very carefully take off these wires off of these posts. Put a terminal strip on the post, one or both. Use this post here to mount the terminal strip, and on the terminal strip put the electrolytics, which will be in this area here. There is no, as I showed you in part 1, there is no holes here that I can get the deoxide in. Unfortunately, I did a lot of spraying all angles trying to get it in there. Apparently it worked its way in because no more squeaking. On the other video, I didn't spray it since then, so it had a lot of chance to soak in. See, that's what you gotta do. Yes, it takes a lot of... it's not squeaking anymore, it's perfectly good. And that control looks to me like it was changed. I could be wrong. You see how this shaft is? I know it's not a close-up, but it looks like a replacement shaft. In fact, I know it is. Control at one time. See how it's the spline down one side, it's flat, it's quarter-inch shaft, half shaft. These are the type of controls you used to buy, like Central Lab and stuff like that. But it's obviously a very, very old one and probably was done in the 50s. You know. So it's not like this one with the dial shaft. See, that's what it should originally look like, where it's a smooth, solid piece, unlike this one, which is splined, but only on half, if you know what I mean. Okay. So what I got to do is I got to glue this speaker cone. I'm not going to take that out because I'm not going to deal with the wires underneath. It's too much. I'm going to just very carefully lay this radio down with the speaker faced up, and I'm going to very carefully lay a bead of Duco cement, which I got right here, and that's what I'm going to use. Now I could use Elmer's, but I think this would hold very good. I've used it on a lot of things. It's a good glue. Got it at my local hardware store. Also, I'm going to hang on to this plug. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, I'm debating what kind of cord I'm going to put in here. Now, this is a, this appears to be a plastic grommet, not metal. Don't think it's metal. Might be, but it's smooth. And it turns. I can feel it. But you can't get it out unless you break it. So it's nice and smooth. It's made for the wire to go through. Now, I don't have any cloth wire. I had several feet of it in my old shop, and like everything else, I gave that away too. And And I was going to, since this is a power transformer radio, I don't have to worry about putting a polarized plug on it. I'd rather put a cloth cord on this and put this plug on it. But I don't have any cloth cord. The only wire I've got is regular, ordinary, plastic, modern day radio cord, you know, or something from an extension cord. So anyways, one thing at a time here. Alright, so you can see that movement there. I think if I lay a bead very carefully right here, I'm not going to try to lift that. I'll ruin it. I'll knock it off center. I know my limitations. Like Clint Eastwood says, a man's got to know his limitations. And there's too many times in the past I ruined things by trying to do the job right. But you see that whole cone is pretty loose. And right now it's centered. I will never try to take that out or try to get the glue under it. I think if I just lay a bead here, it'll hold nicely. It's not going to mess it up. I'm not going to get it into the cone here, because this is not speaker cement. So if you put it on the cone, you're going to stiffen it up too much. Although this isn't high fidelity, but you do want a little compliance with it. And you can see when I'm moving that whole thing is going up and down. So we're going to put some Duco cement on there, and we're going to try to put a little underneath here. See that? That's like a foil. So we're going to put a little bit on there and push it down. There isn't much I can do about it. I can take well, I don't have a brown magic marker or Sharpie. I have black, and probably just leave that alone. And when it comes to cosmetic stuff and everything else like that, I usually make things worse trying to improve, as the saying goes. So let's do that. We're going to do that off camera, because I need both hands and a magnifying glass so I don't slip and get it on the cone and make a mess. Because this stuff comes out of the tube pretty fast. It's almost like water. So I got to be careful with that. So we'll come back on the video when I show you that, whether I succeed or not. I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to try to fix this, and I got to put some weight on it to hold it down. So I'm going to try to get that corner fixed. All right, I got it on, but trying to rub it with my fingers to smooth it and get it to stay down took some of the gold off. So I think the model gold paint probably will take care of that. I'm not going to even touch this. That's beyond my capabilities. We'll leave this alone, because this is like it's a very thin foil, very thin. It's like a aluminum foil, but it's very, very delicate, and we're not going to mess with that. I think the solvent in this Duco cement took off some of the coating, as you can see right there on the left side. Alright, now I'm going to do the speaker. I'm doing that off camera. Alright, I got it on. I took a small screwdriver and very gently lifted up here, but I didn't want to put too much force on. I got the Duco cement in there. Up here I detected some glue, so somebody had tried to glue this area. So I just went all the way around, and now we'll just let it set. We're not going to try to clamp it down. I don't have any way to do that. If I put a clamp on that, when I go to take it off, the clamp will be glued to the little cardboard. You see that little cardboard ring that goes around there? It would stick to that and rip the whole cone right out. So we're going to just leave it. Let's just see how much, see if it's sitting properly. Yeah, seems to be. Okay, it seems to be. I know some guys would tear this thing all apart and do it right, but I would ruin it. I've destroyed so many things in the past trying to. That's why I don't do IF cans. Just too small. It's like a watchmaker. You have to have the eyes of a watchmaker and the hands of a surgeon. I don't have either. And this is holding up really well. So I'm going to leave that. It's like I say, I can't do anything with this here. I think it's coming out pretty good. Okay. Okay, we continue on. I'm in the process of cutting out the wet electrolytics out of circuit. I don't have a 12 microfarad, and I do not have a 4 microfarad, both at 450. What I do have is a 22 at 450 and a 10 at 450. So I'm going to put the 10 in the 4, which is over here on the right-hand side of the two filters. You can probably see that, I hope. And the 22 will go as the input filter capacitor. That's all I've got. But I'll show you what I did on the chassis. And before I do that, I tested the field coil, because you can see the field coil is between the two electrolytics, between the 12 and the 4 microfarad. It shows 1500 ohms DC resistance. I get 1750 DC resistance. Here is one side of the field coil, and the other side is on the other filter here. So this particular filter is the 4 microfarad right here. This is the 12. So we're going to put a 10 in here and a 22 for this one. And what I did here, like it's a job, because I couldn't hold the, it was difficult holding this with a pair of pliers and heating this up enough so that it would melt the lug onto this and then make my electrical connection here. So this one is not mounted to the ground, it's floating, and it's usually done that way for the bias of the audio output tube. I think, I don't know what resistance this is. I think it's 900 meg. Don't quote me on that. It could be 100,000. I really don't know. And here goes my phone again. Every time I am doing a video. Never, never, never fails. I'll let it ring. All right. Oh, man. So, all right, this is a dead lug now. I cut everything off of it. The only two wires that were on it was the field coil and the cathode of the 84 rectifier, which is right here. So just these two wires were going to the center here. The other wires are going to the can. That's your floating negative. Those will be left on. I'll just use that as a tie point. It's not hurting anything. The electrolytic itself is out of the circuit. So we don't have to disturb this resistor, but I'm going to test it. I'm going to say this. 490,000 ohms. See where my little finger is right there? 490,000 ohms. But I can't tell what wattage it is. It appears to be a 1 watt, but judging from the physical size. But I know your older resistors, they give you, you know, they're actually physically larger for the wattage that they are. So that might only be a half watt, but I would want to put at least a 1 watt in there if I can find out what that resistor is. And that's all. Everything else is, it's the only 2 points on here, and this wire goes to, this is part of your common negative. Goes to the yellow tracer, I think that's what it says. To the center tap, oh, that's your common return for the full wave rectifier. So that's the only, is your bottom of your negative of that electrolytic, which I just showed you, common negative. So in other words, the negative isn't going to the chassis like the 4 microfarad over here on the right of the field coil. That goes to the chassis, okay? That's the first one I put the terminal strip on, and I did not yet put the terminal strip on this one, but I will be. Let's test that right now. Give you the results after. 697 ohms. So, if that's the correct resistor, if that is, I can't say that I like these type of resistors. I don't like them. See how they're color-coded? I have to go by the schematic because I can't make heads or tails out of these, any of these here. So we go by the schematic. We don't have any problem with the schematic. Now we got a mica here. Usually they're okay. Solder this down. And what I'll do is I'll straighten that out like I did this one so that the terminal strip sits this way. Because if you mount it this way, it may not get into the, it might not fit right. Now, like I say, what I'm going to put in here, I should say, is a 10 microfarad at 450 volts. I also got 35 volts, but that won't work. So, 10 microfarad, 450 volts will go in where what was the 4 microfarad. I know it's a little high, but that's all I've got. Then we got the 22 at 450 for the 12. That's all I've got, so we'll have to make do. What's throwing me off is these weird color codes on these things. I've seen them before. I've seen many of them. And the only way I can really fix them is with a schematic that tells me the value. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. There will be more as I work on this thing and get more parts done and resistors done. It may even be working.